So, welcome back to Paz Pod. Phil, how you doing?
Very well, thank you.
Good. Any news?
What about me? Or
About you? Yeah, about yourself.
I've been up since about 4:30 this morning, which is a highlight.
You said that.
Neither of my daughters fancied sleeping last night, so it's now 11:30, and I'm starting to feel tired already. So that's not a good sign.
It's a good start to Friday. At least you could have an early night in preparation for your touch rugby appearance tomorrow.
Yes, I mean, I'm not a natural touch player, but I'm going to give it a go. Missed the last one, so debut on debut for whoever wants me. To be honest, I'm putting myself out there.
Well, I mean, if I get to pick players, you can be on my team. I know that would be an honour for you.
Yeah.
So that'd be nice. I mean, if you're more of a touch person than I am, and I wasn't too bad. So I think you might be all right, if I'm honest.
It's been a while.
Yeah, but there we go. We'll just make do what we can. Anyway, should we do some quiz questions? Because I'm actually itching to see if I can get on level terms with you now, because you are 1-0 up technically.
Yes.
Because we drew last week, 0-0. Was it 0-0 last week?
It was the first week, wasn't it? First week was pretty bad.
Yeah. All right, first week. Yeah. So this week, because we had Theo on, obviously a member of the Front Row Club, we've gone for questions about props today, haven't we? Yeah, it's going to be interesting, but would you like to crack on with your first question?
Yeah, so question number one, and I won't be surprised if you have this question as well. Who is the most internationally capped prop? Is it A, Jason Leonard, B, Cascio Giovanni, C, Tony Woodcock, or D, Gethin Jenkins?
Jason Leonard, A.
Incorrect.
No.
And I didn't know this. So Jason Leonard was the first to get to 100 caps.
Yeah.
I think. And then he was the most capped player in the world, I think, at one point. That was quite flamboyant. But Jason Leonard and Castro are on like 116.
Yeah.
Tony Woodcock's on 113 or something. Gethin Jenkins is on 134.
Are they counting kind of training sessions?
I mean, I didn't know he had played that many.
That's a ridiculous amount. Oh my word. Fair play to the lad.
Yeah.
Right, so that's a 0 for me on that one then. I thought that was a
tap-in.
But there we go. I've gone a bit different on my first question. Obviously, one of the most famous props currently playing at the minute is Joe Marler. So I've three quotes here. I'd like to know which one of these is not a Joe Marler quote.
Is not
a Joe Marler quote.
Oh,
so two of them are, one of them isn't. So quote number one, I played like an absolute helmet, which often happened around England time. That's quote number one. Quote number two, you can lead a horse to water and you can ask the horse, and you can say to the horse, hey horsey, do you want to drink or do you want to swim? It's up to the horse to realise what he wants to do in his life. So that's quote number two. Number three, I'd like to thank the press from the heart of my bottom. Which is a great quote. Which to them is not a Joe Marler quote.
I know B is him. B is definitely him because I've heard that one. And it's very funny because he does at the end of it. He goes, and they said, "And what are you?" And he goes, "I just don't like horses."
Yeah, doesn't he gallop off as well?
I think A isn't a quote from him.
So A is a quote from him. When he initially retired. But I'd like to thank the press from the heart of my bottom was actually Nick Easter when we beat the Aussies in a quarter-final when the press was slating us. But I do like the heart of my bottom is going to be one of my favourite phrases now. And I'm going to use that a lot. Okay.
Okay, so my second one is the heaviest prop in professional rugby is Ben Tamifuna of the Chiefs, or he wasn't the Chiefs, and New Zealand. What did he weigh at his heaviest?
Oh.
Is it 143 kilos, 147 kilos, 153 kilos, or 156 kilos?
Well, after our quiz yesterday, we all learned I'm 143 at the minute. So I'm glad that's the lowest bracket. What was C and D?
153 and 156.
Oh, that's big. I'm going to go for
That is huge.
Yeah, I'll go for B.
147. No, he's 153 at his heaviest.
150. That's what, about 24 stone?
Yep. There's that video of him at about that weight when he catches that guy in a tackle, and the guy time travels.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive as well, to be able to professionally perform.
You think how quick they play in New Zealand, and he's 150 odd kilos. That is ridiculous.
Man's a monster, absolute monster. All right, no one else. So Jason Leonard is, well, one of the most capped props ever to play the game. But how many tries for England did he score? Was it A, 1, B, 3, or C, 5?
Oh, I feel like I should know this. I think he got 5.
5. Well, according to the internet, he only scored 1 for England.
Really?
Yeah, and I thought, oh, I bet that's not right. And I had to double check it on a few places, but Funbus only got 1.
Oh, how unprolific.
I think he only got 5 in his Premiership career, if I'm honest.
What a depressing way of playing rugby.
320 appearances in the Prem, I think he had. And 5 tries. Absolutely poor tries, but what a guy. Okay, moving on to number 3.
Right, my final question is a bit different.
Okay.
And I know this might be difficult for you because you were only 13 at the time, I believe. Maybe not even that. You might have been younger. But can you name all 4 props that were in the England 2003 Rugby World Cup squad?
In the whole squad?
There's only 4.
Okay. So, Jason Leonard was in it.
Correct.
Phil Vickery was in it.
Correct.
Oh, I always forget his name. Have we already mentioned one of them?
No, don't think so.
Every time there's you see these quiz, can you name the England starting 15 for the winning World Cup? It's always the forwards I struggle with. It's always like the front row. White?
Yes, Julian White, yeah. One more.
I can picture him. He's got quite a squished head, isn't he? Sheridan? Sheridan? No.
No, he was 4 years later.
Oh,
Do you want the answer?
yeah.
Trevor Woodman.
That's it. Woodman. Balls. That's not too bad, considering I was...
You've done well there.
How old would I have been? I was younger than 13.
You're 11.
I was born in 94, so 9.
Oh, my God.
I know.
I forget you're 5 years younger than me.
I don't think the listeners would have guessed. Okay, mine's slightly different, still prop related. Which prop has opened a takeaway in Gloucester called Number 3? So was it David Flatman, Phil Vickery, or Julian White?
Julian White doesn't live in Gloucester. He lives near Leicestershire because his farm's still there. Phil Vickery played for Gloucester. David Flatman played for Gloucester and Bath, didn't he?
Mm.
Oh, Worcester and Bath. Phil Vickery's got his own sports brand, so I'm not sure he'd do a restaurant. Yeah, I'll go with Phil Vickery.
It's Phil Vickery. Yeah, he's a Cornish lad, I think, actually. But he, after he won Celebrity MasterChef, he got up raging bull. He decided to, he lost loads of weight and opened a premium takeaway. Never been. Sure, it's lovely.
Premium takeaway?
Premium. I don't know what that means. Extra.
He's very good.
Oil. Yeah. It's really good, and it's about £10 for a kebab. So I think that's 2-0 to you now.
Flying with 1 point wins every week.
1 point wins. Well, I think it was a bit unfair to ask me to name 4 on it. There we go. Not going to complain. Have we got any form of confirmation about playing rugby this year? Is it a yes or is it a no?
It is a yes. So last night, quite late on, the RFU sent something out saying that community rugby won't start until January 2021. So we know now that we won't be playing competitive rugby until then. With regards to when it actually starts, they haven't confirmed, but they're just saying for now it is not going to happen before the new year. So puts us in a strange place, really, because we started training in July and it seems like a long pre-season. So training will just be tempered to sort of work on skills and keep it fun and light rather than flogging each other week in, week out and sort of people getting bored. So we'll try and keep it interesting, mix it up every now and again, and just make sure everyone's getting something out of it in the next few months. It's
a weird situation to be in, knowing that it's going to be at least generally means you can obviously yourself and Nate can tailor training, but then it's also a long time to train for before we might have a game. But maybe we see the return of a football night, but who knows? Just a suggestion.
Yeah, I mean, things like that. Football, a bit of 7-a-side football on a night or something like that might not be a problem. I think we'll keep mixing up. We won't do the same thing week in, week out. Lads need a bit of time away from rugby, so it's frustrating. But at least we know now, we're not going to suddenly get a month's wind up and be fired into a season that is going to be a bit of a strange one anyway.
Yeah, but like you said, we'll still do training. We'll still, until we're told we can't, do Thursday nights after training. Again, socially distanced until 10 o'clock maximum. But it'll be good. We'll still do stuff. For example, we've got a quiz coming up. Neil is doing an online quiz on the 16th to the 18th, so it just needs to be completed online. £5 minimum donation for that one. And the funds go towards the 2022 project by the looks of things, to my knowledge. So keep an eye on that. Have we got anything else we'd like to say before?
I don't think so. I think we should introduce this week's guest.
So Theo, who has no relationship with Phil, we cover that quite a bit, but please don't get confused. But it's nice to have it was nice to have another member of Doxbridge on, wasn't it?
Yeah, lovely. Doxbridge being Durham, Oxford and Cambridge alumni, of which I am one.
Yeah, and for other former Trents, it's now called Doxbridge Trent, just so I can... We'll catch up afterwards. So here we are with Theo. Theo, how you doing?
Very well, thanks. I've just finished a very high-risk dinner, actually. I smashed a wine glass whilst I was cooking, so it was an interesting experience of eating whilst trying to check if there's any glass in it. It's all right. I avoided any. We're fine.
What were you cooking?
It was a Hello Fresh
noodles.
It was Mexican style chicken.
Oh,
it was delicious with or without glass.
I think from now on, maybe we should get all our guests to cook dinner for us, Phil, if I'm honest. That'd
But
be-
when we can start doing them in situ, I think that's probably not a bad idea.
I'm just looking for endorsements, to be honest. I'm going to be throwing brands out throughout.
Oh, was that HelloFresh, was it?
Yeah, HelloFresh, that delicious, great. 50% off if you want it. I've got a voucher code. That get in touch.
So if anybody wants it, they can also ask me because I will endorse them and get 50% off too.
You're too late. I'm endorsing them first.
You're not a host, you won't get paid. So, Theo, for those who don't know you, give us a little bit of an introduction to yourself and your rugby playing career.
So I'm going to throw one of the more confusing sentences out there to start with. Of I'm Phil's brother's brother. That's how I got involved with Paviors through Nathan, my brother.
I'll stop you there, Theo. If we're going to go down this line early, I'm just going to share my screen to explain that to everyone how that works.
I've got the family tree.
I've worked a little bit of something for us. Basically, Theo and I have known Jonty for, well, basically as long as Theo's been at the club. I've known Jonty a little bit longer. And we were at our golf day on Saturday, and Jonty still asked me about me and Theo's relationship. So it's obviously a bit confusing for some people. So what I've done here is I've put together a little PowerPoint. Bear with me here. So is that on?
Nope.
Not yet, no.
Okay, that's a cracking start.
Oh, no.
Where's that gone now? Oh, here she is.
There we go.
Okay, so that should have come on now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is how Phil and Theo's relationship works. Now it is complicated. I can understand why people get confused, but I think this should explain it relatively well. Okay. So there was once a man called Chris Eggleshaw, which is Phil's dad. It's going to be quite complex. He married a woman called Carol, that is Theo's mum.
Which weirdly, that's how she actually looks. So,
yeah. So I've hid the identity of all Theo's family, not to offend people.
So does Carol look like Tintin's silhouette? Is that what?
Yeah, she carries a question mark around with her at all times.
Chris Eggleshaw, Phil's dad, and Carol, Theo's mum, got married a long time ago, straight out of university, I believe. And they had Nathan Eggleshaw, Phil and Theo's half brother. Okay. Now, sadly, that ended in divorce, and both parents went their separate ways, and went on to marry themselves. So you've got Joy Eggleshaw here, which is Phil's mum, and you've got another Chris, actually, to make this a bit more confusing. Theo's dad.
But I actually come from a long line of spies. That's why they're identical.
Yeah. And so that's how that works. So we've got two Chris's at this point. Obviously, these parents ended up having children of their own. So you've got Chris, Phil Eggleshaw, which is me, Phil, and you've got Theo, which is Theo, over here.
Is your first name Chris?
Oh my God, yeah.
Oh,
How do you not know that? So it's quite Chris heavy. It's a Chris heavy document. I mean, Nathan also changed his name by default to Chris as well because he felt left out.
Is that true? I never knew that.
I believe so. I mean, if I've just put that and your mum doesn't know either, that's going to be really painful.
I can't work out if that's you.
And then we've also both had sisters. So you got Fran, which is my sister, and Sophie, that is Theo's sister.
I like that you've just not taken any chance of taking shots at my side of the family at all.
No, wouldn't dare do that. No, unnecessary. And so therefore there is no relationship between Phil and Theo, apart from friendship, which I'm throwing out there and hoping Theo agrees.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Cheers, mate. Thanks. I just thought I'd clear it up.
No relationship sounded a bit strong.
So I just thought I'd get that out of the way, but while we're going there.
That's fine. way too pissed to comprehend that, so I'll have to look back at that when I edit this. So Theo, we now know your family tree. Would you like to give us a bit of knowledge around your rugby side of things, please?
So, I guess rugby-wise, I came fairly late to it. I didn't start playing until secondary school, and even then, so I played for. I lived in Peterborough as a kid, so I played for Peterborough from about under 12s, maybe under 15s, but kind of stopped after that because I wasn't massively interested. It wasn't until I got to uni that I got quite interested in playing rugby and started to play at a decent level. And it was then playing at uni, sort of a few chances there, and then my mum moved up Newark way. So whilst I was home from uni in my third year, I just sort of came along to train with Paviers, obviously through Nathan during my holidays. And it's kind of what led me to move to Nottingham for work, of just knowing people through Paviers through that and seeing it as a nice city to move to. So in many ways, Paviers is the reason that I live here and I've settled here and sort of become a family in its own way that way.
I mean, that does make sense. There's a lot of people that have settled in Nottingham because of Paviers. Not as many people have so many links to the club quite as much as you do, but at least you're up and you're enjoying your rugby, if I'm correct.
Yeah, I enjoy it.
Good. So we've obviously reached out to a few people regarding stories and trying to find out a little bit more about you than I already knew. Phil might have known a little bit more about you than I did.
Yeah, so for those who don't know, Theo is a Doxbridge.
He's a bully boy.
We're not having that.
So he went to Cambridge and was from an early age known to be highly intelligent. Theo, can you just cover the newspaper article I think I was shown at the age of, I was probably about 13, 14, about how intelligent Theo Collier is by my dad?
Yeah, so there's a slight arrogance here of which newspaper article. I did a few times. Probably the main one was when I was 10 or 11. I think it was like a national maths competition that there were 2 stages to it, and I got into the final round, and then I think it was something like it was out of 30 and 5% of people got more than 25, and I'd got full marks in it. So ended up in the Peterborough paper, got this weird Pride of Peterborough award, and yeah, I was next level maths nerd as a kid, basically.
I mean, it was pretty brutal for me because at that point in time, I think my dad was very nervous that I wasn't going to pass my GCSEs, and he was like, "Look at what Theo's doing. Theo's doing this. Theo's doing that," and I was just like, "Yeah, but Theo's obviously good at maths."
It's quite harsh to compare Theo to someone that can't spell GCSE, isn't it, really? I think that's a fair comparison that Chris made.
I mean, yeah, it's not. I mean, well, let's be honest. Theo and I have got more A levels than Nathan, even though I wouldn't suggest.
Is that where we're going on the attack after Nathan?
No. So I didn't do badly, but yeah, I think although obviously there is no relation between me and Theo, Theo's intelligence was always something that was mentioned when maybe I flunked a mock exam or hadn't revised for certain English GCSEs or whatever. So yeah, I've always remembered being like this newspaper cutting being put down in front of me at dinner and being like, who's that?
I love the idea that it's put in front of you every dinner. Just like this is what you could be.
And it was the fact that you were like 2 or 3 years younger than me as well. Just like, why have you put a little kid on the table in front of me? Or what's the? And then they're like, it's Theo, Nathan's brother. I was like, oh.
I had a protractor around my face as well. It was very artfully done.
It wasn't easy to like determine because I hadn't seen you in about 4 years either.
No, well, this I think I remember you saying, Phil, we only ever saw each other if Nathan had been in trouble. Which there's one story I'd like to clear up. I mentioned this to my mum recently, but I couldn't remember the full story. Have you had a bit of trouble with my mum's B-day once, didn't you?
Yeah, I think I was very young then, though.
Okay,
I think that was probably the first time I might have been to your mum's house, and that wasn't the one in the middle of nowhere. That was the one on an estate. Quite a nice house.
Yeah, it's Martin's Way.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I remember. Did I try and get in the B-day, or I can't remember? I was too young.
No,
I'm not sure.
I thought you told me a story that you did a poo in the B-day.
I don't think that was your mum's B-day.
Okay.
I think that was my auntie's B-day.
Right.
And that story, just to embellish, was we were at the age where sort of maybe I was 6 or 7. Fran would have been 4 or 5, and Dad had taken us both to the toilet at my auntie's house to sort of 2 birds, 1 stone sort of thing. And Fran's on the toilet, and I've asked my dad, we didn't have a B-day at home. What's that? And he's gone, oh, that's for when you do a poo. Suggesting that that's for once you've done the poo, it's to help clean.
Yeah.
So he's gone, are you going to be all right by yourself? And I'm like, yeah, of course I am. Anyway, you need a poo. He's just told me that's for when you need a poo. So I just laid some brown cable in the
A bit like Neil at the In-Betweeners movie when he...
Yes, exactly. I can't remember what happened, but I remember coming out being like, it's not flushing. Well, it's not very good, is it?
You've got to push it down with your finger.
Yeah.
Plug hole.
You've got to have some good accuracy to get it down that plug hole.
That would be quite impressive accuracy. But moving away from poo, B-days and intelligence, Theo, I would. We obviously we've had some stories come in, but I'd like to know if you've still got your Sonic jumper.
Of course, I have my Sonic jumper. In fact, I wore it about 2 days ago, I think.
Have you got it to hand?
I could probably go get it. Why?
Right, because I would like to see this Sonic jumper, if that's okay.
I mean, you'll have to give me it. Bobby hates this jumper, and he has absolutely no reason to.
I think it's not end, but I do like it.
Well, that's so offensive.
I don't know. Bobby absolutely hates it. He called me worst dressed for it.
I mean, that's rich coming from Babs.
Yeah, it's a Primark special, and it's done me very well.
I mean, that's coming from a bloke that only ever wears Coca-Cola lanyards. So I don't think a Sonic jumper is too much to be offended by. Is there a story behind the Sonic jumper, or is it just the fact that he doesn't like it?
There's certainly not a story I'm aware of, because I've had it since I was at uni. All I know is he has an irrational hatred for the jumper.
He's got a lot of irrational hatred. But to be fair, going back to stuff which might be interesting to people, you're obviously part of the Oxbridge crew, and you played rugby at university. So what was it like going back to rugby chat, what was it like playing rugby at one of the most renowned universities in the world? Was it as kind of boys' club as it seemed to be from the outside, or was it a little bit different to that?
I wouldn't say it was necessarily boys' club. It's certainly, you knew playing certain opposition that we had that reputation. I played for the senior seconds against I think the Army under-23 and the Navy under-23, and they absolutely hated us. You could tell, they turn up. It's a, oh well, your officers are coming from here. That kind of reputation of half of them were there for a fight rather than for a rugby match. I think it was the Army game. We had a loose head, a Northern Irish lad who he liked to scrap himself. He'd got into a little bit of a scrap with his opposite number, and I was the nearest man, probably 10 metres away from him. I'm not really a fighter, but I'd sort of jog over like I'm the nearest man. It's my job to break it up. Before I made the 10 metres to get there, the winger from the opposite side of the pitch absolutely blindsided me. He wiped me out. It was like, okay, that's the tone for the game today.
When I was at Nottingham, we would always play the Army in a sort of like a second team sort of exhibition game, and it would be bounded around the county at different grounds. And one year, I think I was coming back from injury, and we kind of put out an under-21s team to play the full Army team. So the crack was that basically we're going to rock up, going to have half the academy, half sort of like first team players that hadn't played at the weekend. Phil, your captain, do all the niceties before the game and do all that, and then play 80 minutes against them. And they weren't great at all, but their fitness levels were just insane. And obviously, like, mentally, they're all relatively tough. But like, we've got to like 60 minutes and we're up by 20, and we've definitely taken the foot off the gas. And some of the academy lads have been put on, the senior players have been taken off, and they just were rampant for 20 minutes, like running up and down. But they just were like, right, here's put on these academy kids, and they've just killed them. They've just seen this young 17-year-old get chucked on for his first senior game of rugby and been like, right, let's ruin his life, and just absolutely destroyed him for like 20 minutes.
We played Sandhurst. I think it was our under-21s. We played Sandhurst as a pre-season game, which Sandhurst it's the officers' training, so it's proper high-level Army stuff. And I think they do 3 terms there. The first term is just sort of pure Army education, which clearly shows I have no idea what they're really doing. But the second and third term, they have to do a sport. So a load of them were playing on Saturday. They'd literally been away for the previous 2 days doing a sleep deprivation exercise. They'd been out in the woods camping, fighting an imaginary enemy, hadn't slept for 2 days, and were playing rugby against us on the Saturday, and their fitness was still absolutely ridiculous. And of course, I was playing tight head. My opposite loose head was the PT instructor. I got absolutely destroyed. I think it was about my 4th game propping ever, and I got bent in 2 throughout. It was horrible.
I mean, the only time I've really experienced playing against anyone from the forces was, to be fair, Corky referenced it, I think, when he was on the other week, was when we went to Newark and they had some of the Fijian lads who were in the Army as well turn up playing a seconds game, and they had a winger who he looked like Thokanasinga's kind of fat brother. He was horrible, and some of the Army, their fitness, you just couldn't hurt them. Even the skinny lads, you just could not get anything on them. They would just run and run and run, and even after the game, they were just ready to keep going as well. It's a different breed. So obviously you mentioned you're part of the front row club. Yeah. So why would such a pretty man like yourself be attracted to the front row club? What is it about the front row which entices you to play rugby, or is it just the fact that you can't play anywhere else?
I mean, it is exactly that. It's that I can't play anywhere else. I turned up. From about the age of 12, 13, I pretty much just played second row, a little bit of back row, if you believe it, when I was a bit lighter. But I turned up to uni trials in my second year, and I was sort of like, well, I play second row, but I can't jump in the line out. So rather than going, oh, we'll teach you to jump in the line out, they went, we're short on props. How do you fancy learning to play tight head? So sort of like, to be fair, I'm very willing to give it a go to get a spot. And well, I ended up playing for the under-21s, got a game at Twickenham for it. Still not a massive fan of playing front row. I get by at it. And actually my first maybe 3 seasons at Paviers, I played second row. I went back to second row. And it was only, I was a bit like, I wasn't getting as much game time as I wanted. So I spoke to Nathan, sort of saying, well, look, I've seen, it was when Dicko was retiring, of sort of saying, well, there's going to be a space there. If I've moved forward to front row, am I going to get more game time? So that's why I've ended up there. Not massively by choice, more just to be able to play the game.
Well, I mean, it's by far, people that actually know rugby and play rugby, it's probably renowned as the hardest position on the pitch to play is either side of the scrum as a prop. So what was it like getting your mentality from second row, where we literally just push and be a bit horrible around the pitch, to actually having to work the technique out? Was that a big mental kind of change for you, or did it come quite naturally?
Yeah, to be the biggest change, I remember in my first few months of propping being really frustrated with myself of I couldn't get round the pitch in the same way as I could as a second row. Because I mean, I'm not the fittest player, but I'm all right. I know where to be on the pitch. And I play still quite like an old school second row. I'll happily hit every other ruck. I'll have a carry every so often. Won't produce much on the field, but I'll just sort of just be involved in every other phase. And I'm going to propping. It's just incredible how much more tiring it is and how much less you can get involved in the play around the pitch.
Yeah, which is, I mean, it's as much as it is true, that is also kind of a bit of an old-fashioned part of the game, isn't it? Because props now, if you look at the pros and stuff, there's a lot more ball carrying and a lot more soft hands from the props, which I've seen you in training. You do have lovely hands. You do know where to break the line in a game of touch. But it's something that not many people want to do nowadays, is it? Is move from the back five to the front five. But some of you did. So if there is anyone out there who's thinking about playing rugby, who's kind of the same stature, probably the same stature as me, because you have lost some timber, what would be, don't laugh, what would be the words of encouragement for you to get someone to learn to prop from any age?
But it's I get, propping is tough, but it's also, when you get it right, it's probably one of the most rewarding positions of it. It's that as much as a scrum is 8 men against each other, when you push your opposite man back or force him to concede a penalty, I think there's very few things that are as satisfying as that. It's like, this is, yeah, I've had you here. This is like, there's few adrenaline rushes you get in a rugby match that are as big as that. Yeah,
no, definitely. I mean, you've played with a lot of good players around the park, but is there something a bit different about props from your experience?
Yeah, maybe there's an element of a few props are a bit loose in the head. I mean, especially my first 3 years at Paviers, I spent basically playing behind Dicko, who's one of the best scrummagers I've ever played behind. He's incredible as a tight end, but he'd also have about one word a year, and I mean, he'd laugh a lot, generally within a scrum, of how much he's enjoying it.
I coached Dicko for on and off. I've coached him for about 4 or 5 years, and I've never seen him dominate in a scrum. Never.
Incredible. I've never enjoyed playing second row so much, but all I knew, as long as I stuck to his leg, we're going forwards. He'd get into some horrible positions, but you always knew the loose that he was up against was in a worse position.
Yeah, or in pain.
Yeah. He must have only weighed 85, 90 kilos. He's not a big man at all, is he?
No.
Yeah, I reckon he's probably around the 100 mark. But yeah, he was 100% technique, but he didn't know he was doing it. Like, there was no conscious effort going in. It was all just sort of natural.
But it worked.
I mean, with Dicko in at the scrum, you were sort of playing the rest of the game with 14 men, but it was nice to have that absolute rocker tight head. Then. I mean, Theo's come on leaps and bounds in the last couple of years doing it and holds his own perfectly, and we've got Dog who come on and give him a rest, or vice versa. So, I think playing prop is a skill in its own. It's something I was actually offered to do when I was 20, 21. I was potentially provided with a year to go away and put on a few stone and learn to play tight head.
It's where the big money's at.
It is. Yeah, it is. I mean, I like to think I have a slightly different part of the game that I'm quite good at as well. So I thought, I mean, there's not. I quite like having the ball in my hands and doing that sort of thing. So I felt like I'd lose that if I'd done it. So, but it would have been interesting because a 6'4", 20 stone tight head would be quite interesting.
Yeah, well, that under the old hit and chase rules, you'd have probably been all right.
Yeah.
Because for my first 6 months at uni, training as a tight end was under the old hit and chase rules, and I did much better then. I got very found out when you had to bind and set, and there's a lot more time there's a lot more technique involved. So that I only played that for maybe 6-9 months at uni, and I was like, oh, maybe this isn't for me. Came back to being a second row up at Paviers, and it was only sort of after 3 years that I was in like, oh, yeah, no, maybe prop is the right position for me.
Yeah. So, Phil, we've spoken a lot about propping. Propping is notoriously one of the oddest places to play on the rugby pitch. Who's the loosest prop you've ever played with on and off the field?
One of my favourite people I played with was Matt Parr, who propped at Nottingham, did a bit of Leicester, did a bit at Saracens as well. He was just unbelievable athlete. He's the head of conditioning now at Tigers. And he was a class player, always focused on his health and fitness stuff, but then would just be amazing on a night out. Like, he was just so much fun on a night out. And I remember quite a few nights. I had quite a good relationship with Matt. Helped him move into his house when he moved to Surrey's, actually. And one night after our end of year ball, we were in one of the hotels in Nottingham for this ball, and then we were meant to be having an after party in Aaliyah. And party was like, we were walking up to Aaliyah, and me and him were walking in. Our wives, Ruth might have been my wife at that point, I can't remember, were walking in front of us, and he like grabbed me, like made me jump, like grabbed me and threw me into this pub, like out of nowhere. And I was like, "Oh my god, what are you doing?" And he was like, "Come on, while they're walking and talking, we can have 3 beers." I was like, 3 beers? Like, we've been drinking all night. Yeah, we should have a quick 3 beers in here, and then we'll catch him up. Anyway, hour and a half later, when we've had a beer and about 4 whiskies, I get a text message from Ruth like, "Are you at the casino?" And Barry's like, "I've just had a text message. They've noticed we're not there." And I'm like, "Yeah, it's been an hour and a half." He was absolutely brilliant. Like, he was awesome on a night out and just a nice bloke all around. Who have I played against? That was, I mean, I was quite lucky. I played against what's the Italian prop?
Castro Giovanni.
I played against him twice. That was just, he was a freak, and I felt like he was picking me out. If I'm going to be honest, he must have ran square at me like 3 times during the game, and I just sleeping policeman him, just dropped at his knees and hoped he went down. But the most freakish prop, and he didn't really play that much. I think his name was Alex Moreno. He was an Argentinian prop who played for Leicester for a few years. He was built like the Thing from the Fantastic Four. He was ridiculous, and he was playing in. I only played against him once. He was playing in like a Monday night A-League game. Basically, we put an A-League team out against Leicester Tigers A, where Tom Varndale was playing, and Lloyd, and a few other like Leicester Tigers legends, basically. And this Alex Moreno had just jumped off the plane, basically. Never heard of him. He looked meaty, and I got put on off the bench. I was only 18. Might have been younger, might have been 17. And this guy, honestly, I was like, "Oh, I'll tackle him," because I've never heard of him, so he can't be that good. And he has, like in a cartoon where like something hits something and they fall backwards.
Yeah.
And then they're like buried in the ground. He literally hit me, and I just went starfish on the ground, and I felt like I was about a foot deep. It was ridiculous.
You're like the coyote trying to chase down the road. Right?
Exactly. Ben Kay was playing that game as well. Actually, that was one of the big names that was playing that game. But yeah, those like Leicester props of that era were just incredible.
Yeah.
That was what, 2007 to 2010ish.
That was quite. It was in their prime. Well, into their prime, if not in their prime already, wasn't it? Around then. Less about reminiscing. Can we see your package, if that's all right, Phil?
Yeah, it's a small package today, as is life. Theo, I think you know the drill.
Yeah, roughly.
You've watched 1 or 2, so just give us your answers as quick as possible, please. Red or green?
Red.
Favorite beverage?
A nice hoppy lager.
Favorite rugby position?
Second row.
Yeah, it is.
Jonty or Babby?
Oh. I was expecting Jonty or Jim to go Jonty there. Babby.
Oof. Best player you have played against?
That the Lucid I mentioned from Sandhurst, that the PT instructor destroyed me.
Favorite opposition?
I think it's hard to say a favourite opposition. I hate playing Newark because I've only ever lost at their place, which is horrible.
That can't be true. We beat them in the cup the other year.
I missed it. I was away.
Ah, there you
go. That's what we won.
Oundle's quite a nice place to go. I quite like playing Peterborough as well, just for the. I know a few people there. Yeah,
I'm sorry, you enjoy playing at Oundle?
But that is partly because I know people around there.
Right, I was going to say, I hate playing at that ground. I played there once and I never want to play there again.
I don't have to run. It's lovely.
Yeah, there's nowhere to run.
Yeah, precisely.
Sounds like my type of ground.
I hate it. And finally, Jonty or Jim?
John T.
Loyal friend there. I mean, to be fair, you're a forward. I think most forwards would probably say John T.
Yeah, I mean, I have to stand by Jim in the line out all the time. Of course, I'm fed up.
Yeah.
Very true. Very true. Very true. So, as per tradition for Phil's package, we go on to rugby memories. So, what's your worst rugby memory?
This is one of those downsides of propping. There's some games where you have an awful time. I think Lutterworth in the season we got promoted, especially the away game against Lutterworth that we lost. It was some stupid score of they won 45-43 or something. But I mean, I will say the ref was not on my side at all. He gave me absolutely nothing. The loose end was just doing all sorts at the scrum and I was getting nothing. But I think we basically got trundled over the line for them to score a try to win it at the death. And it was when we were looking at we're trying to be top of the table here. And it was this is on me that we've lost this game. It felt pretty horrible.
Yeah, it wasn't. I remember that being quite a frustrating day. I wouldn't have suggested it was you at all.
No, it's one of the there's a lot of things didn't function, but it's the nature of being front row, and when things like that happen in the scrum, you take it on yourself.
Yeah, I do remember we had a bad day, sort of running moves off scrums, and there was a lot of scrums that day. So there's a lot of drop balls. I seem to remember. They were dropping them left, right, and centre, and we weren't really capitalising on the possession. But yeah, that was quite a major blip in that season. We also lost them at home, I think.
Yeah, I think we did. Yeah, it was a weird
last play of the game as well.
Yeah.
I mean, front row is one of them weird positions where if you score a pushover try or a try from a rolling mill for a line out, it's the best thing in the world. But if then you concede off one of them, it literally kicks you in the heart, doesn't it? It literally kicks every part of you, and you don't want to remember it.
Yeah, well, it was the good thing. I'm very much jumping your question here of the best memory of the two final games of the season, the cup final against Bridgeford, and then the playoff game. So the cup final, the back line wasn't functioning at all. We just couldn't seem to get a move going, and it was our scrum that won it. I think we pushed them over for one, and then we also won a key sort of turnover in our 22. We won a penalty off their scrum with about 5 minutes to go or something. It's like that. Those kind of moments are the best moments in the game of we've won the team the game here, if we've dominated the scrum. And then in the playoff game as well, the try that we scored that won it was a pushover scrum as well, which is it felt almost like redemption of those moments earlier in season games like Lutterworth, where it's like I've been dominated here. It's like, oh no, actually, yeah, this is like I'm providing something to the team here. This is what I've done.
Yeah, I think that was a big moment of the playoff final, especially the pushover try towards the end or in the second half. It made a huge difference. I was pleasantly surprised actually in that game how much we did dominate up front. I was of the understanding they were quite good up front, and then they had that one superstar in the back line. But yeah, they seem to. I think they lacked a bit of experience and age in the pack, to be honest.
Yeah, definitely. I think earlier in the game it had been. I think me and my opposition Lou said it was a fairly good battle between us. I think I probably had the slight upper hand, but he was able to, as I was going through, he was able to push me up, and I therefore couldn't be that effective. I'd have a little nudge and then stop. But that was the one on their 5 where it was like, yeah, we've gone here and you're not stopping us. It is sort of, as I was saying earlier, there's no better feeling of just as an 8, we've just walked over the opposition, and it's hard to beat that.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, coming to some of a question which we might close on, as we all, I mean, Phil and I both play centre. both very good centres. But the importance of a pack is somewhat underrated to those who don't really understand rugby. They like to see the try scored and what have you. But in your opinion, Theo, if the pack's on form, does that win a game? Or is the pack not as standalone as forwards think we are?
No, I mean, absolutely. I mean, what, 2/3 of your phases are probably forwards phases. So there's some very big rugby cliches of your forwards win matches, your backs decide by how many, and you earn the right to go wide. But the cliches for a reason of it is you have to get front foot ball off the forwards to be able to then play your backs plays.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, throughout all levels of rugby, I've played from fourth team to second team. It's very much a forward game, but maybe finishing on a lighter note, I do love a rugby cliche. For both of you, what is your favourite rugby cliche to hear before a game of rugby?
I think Babby comes out with some cliches. Johnny's not bad for a cliche either.
Babbies aren't really cliches, they're just a random collection of words that he's not really worked out what's going on. I love to throw out of rugby's a simple game. Whoever wins the game line wins the game.
Yeah, I like that. Diggers used to say, it's simple. You score more points, you win the game. I used to love that. You score more than them, that's how you win. You're no shit digger.
I like that they can't score if they don't have the ball. That's one of my favourites.
Yeah.
Can't score if they don't have the ball.
Though teams like Surrey's have just proved that wrong. I mean, England, they played in the World Cup as well. Is just defend people into their 22 and capitalise.
Yeah, I do like just some of the things that get said in the changing room just make me chuckle. I was saying, and Theo will back this up on another podcast, that I tend to go over technical just before we go out for a game. I'm trying to tell people exactly what we need to be doing in a technical situation, which I'm not sure helps or not. And then there's others that are just shouting absurdities.
Yeah, there's always there's people who like to try and psych others up, but it's always in my head. I'm always going, yeah, steady on now. Like, what are you actually talking about?
Name and shame him, Theo.
There's not anyone specific. I think everyone does it, but it's. I've just realized we've not gone through stats at all. Which my try scoring stats are pitiful, but sometimes you have to talk quality over quantity here.
We will get your stats and put them up. Don't worry, we will find your stats and put them up.
I mean, my stats are about 4 tries in 3 seasons, but
the guru's on holiday, which is our issue.
Is he?
So he's not back. Yes.
We can't talk rugby memories without the Melton Mowbray try.
So
to
be fair, Alex Barton, the phenomenon of Alex Barton did ask about the Mowbray skip or the Mowbray gallop, I think is the words he used. To finish the podcast and the interview, would you like to talk us through that try?
I think the beauty of it was almost a pure front row try. If we turned Melton over, I mean, to be fair, like we were about 70-0 up. So Phil turned Melton over about on our 5, not far outside it. I think Cal took the ball, gave it to Kieran, gave it back to Cal, who gave it to me on about the 22, and it was just one of those of it had just opened up so perfectly. It was like, well, I'm just going here. I'm going and we'll see what happens. And I think as I got to the try line, one of their wingers had kind of caught me, but clearly just didn't want to tackle me. So it was like, we'll just flop over the line. And I mean, I needed oxygen after it, but
it was insane. Like, even their crowd were cheering. It was ridiculous. Theo has played that down massively.
Go on, Phil, give me your account of the try then.
So an absolute hero's dived into a ruck and turned it over, and then
Was that
gone
Jim?
down. No, Jim doesn't get turned over, and then flopped down and set the ruck. And I think it was Cal. You're right. Cal's taken like a quick pop off whoever's there and gone through. Put it inside to Kieran, who's beaten someone. Put it back into Cal, who's then tipped it onto Theo, who has obviously decided that he's got loads of energy left with 5 minutes to go after what basically was a training session. And it's just like, for the first 30, he properly was going, like knee lift, powering away. And then, to be fair, the other end of the pitch was obviously very muddy on March the 30th.
It's like treacle.
Somehow their players started reeling him in quite quickly. But he got there, and I didn't move, to be fair, from the 5 metre line. I had my arms up when he got to the halfway line celebrating, but it was an insane try for a prop to score in the 74th minute or whatever it was.
How long are you going to be living off that try for, Theo?
How many years have I got left?
Probably at least 5.
Yeah.
Have you scored since?
Yeah.
You scored last year.
Yeah, the little tip line off the Doug against Broad Street.
Oh, yeah.
I only score good tries. That's
yeah.
I mean, the week after,
are we going to talk about the Mellish game?
Oh, well, yeah. You witnessed that Mellish try as well. That was also a thing of beauty. That doesn't count to my stats, but it was a show and go from 9 that absolutely everyone fell for. Just jogged in from the 22.
In that game, so me and Theo were asked to rock up to play for President's 15 against Mellish. What happened was they forgot to invite anyone else, so it was just me and Theo in this President's 15.
I don't know why you'd been asked, but you put the invite out at about 11 p.m. on the Friday, and I was absolutely battered at the time because I was celebrating. I just passed my final accountancy exam. I was absolutely battered. I was like, well, yeah, I'll play rugby tomorrow. Just clearly everyone else had gone, nah, sod off.
So we rocked up, and Mellish basically went, oh, sorry, we've only invited like 3 of you. So we can't really do a President's 15. So we've also got like the second team. The second team's opponent haven't turned up. So we're just going to do like a mix-up game and play 15 on 15 mixed. So they said, what position do you want to play? And I said, well, I've literally like, this is my one weekend where Ruth's taken Lucy away, and I've got Friday, Saturday, and Sunday night to myself. And this would have been, I think, probably Sunday for President's Day Fair. I think, right, I'm thinking.
Yeah, probably.
It was a bank holiday weekend, I think. And I was like, well, better get all these jobs done that Ruth's expected me to do Sunday morning, then disappeared to Mellish and whatever. So I painted like 13 fence panels in the morning and went to the tip on the way to the ground, and then got up there and then, what position do you want to play? And I was like, I don't really fancy it now, so I'll play 10. And thinking them to go, no, you don't know what you're doing. They were like, okay. I was like, sweet. I think you started at prop and ended up at number 8 or something, didn't you, on your team?
I started the second row. I think I stayed in the row throughout.
No, did you?
I may have migrated.
But we ended up playing against each other, which was quite funny. And I celebrated for him when he scored a show and go against my team. But
I think you scored a hat-trick as well. It was a bit...
No, I didn't. I scored that last try where I did a chip and chase from about 80 metres, which was pretty impressive.
Yeah.
What else do you expect from a Mellish President's Day? But anyway, thanks for coming on, Theo. It's been nice to delve into a proper props brain. It's nice to see that you've got a saddle up for session on your settee there. So it was nice to come on, but thank you very much, and we'll catch up with you soon.
Been a pleasure. Cheers.
Yeah, it hasn't, but thank you.
I'm not sure who that's aimed at, but
No comment. So that was Theo. I didn't realise how intelligent he really was. I knew he was a clever lad, but local legend, I hear, down in his areas.
Yeah. It's nice to have a front row member on who didn't pull the splits at the end of the episode. But I've got to admit, there was just no dirt on him, was there?
No
dirt on him.
We did have a late one come through yesterday, which wasn't very useful for anyone. Something to do, I was seeing if I could find it on my phone, something to do with Juju Bar. But again, not too dirty. So maybe he's just clean, or he's doing people's accounts for them, saving them a shed load of money so they don't want to out him. So it'll be that.
That is alleged. That is alleged, Tom.
Allegedly. This is 3 weeks in a row we've had to say allegedly. It's not going well. Bollocks. So, like we said, moving away from Theo, we've got the quiz, 16th to the 18th. Should be good fun. Online quizzes, so no naughty biscuits and no cheating. I wouldn't want to cheat on a Neil Kendrick quiz, because I'm sure there's a side of him that could really upset people and scare people if you cheat. So there's that. There's also, it's time for subs. Obviously, I know it's a bit of a weird time where we're not playing rugby or whatever, but we are a community club, so to be a part of the community, it would be good for the subs to be coming in. Even if you do it £10 a month on direct debit or whatever, the setup is on that. It is good. It will keep us above water where we need to be, because January is a long time to not have loads of money coming behind the bar. So we'll see on that one. And then the last thing I've got, we'd just like to pass our best wishes on to Ollerton Rugby Club, as one of their founding members, David Price, sadly passed away the other day. So our thoughts do go to his family, friends, and the rest at Ollerton. So that's sad news, but yeah, Ollerton's a good club and we're good friends with them. So we feel your pain. So next week, secret, not secret.
Now we'll keep it a secret because it could go Pete Tong.
Highly likely.
But we have someone in the wings.
We do, and it will be a good podcast if it all comes off. A well-known individual around these areas, but we shall say no more. Apart from, as is tradition, have you got any wise words, Phil? No. One day you're going to shock me, and you'll be really profound. But for now, see you later. Do the other hand. There you go. That one's better this week.